Hello and welcome along to another episode of Robin and Jane in the Stalls. What a busy week it has been for us. Of course, it was a bank holiday weekend. So many things happening throughout Belfast. And of course, the Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival is back and it's now in its 25th year. We're going to tell you about two of our highlights from this year's festival so far. And I'm also going to tell you about a guy called Morgan Roussel, a French composer who was in Northern Ireland this week as well as part of a little mini tour. And we'll tell you all about his brand new show, Reborn. But we're going to start with one of the big opening concerts at this year's Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival, and it was Camille O'Sullivan. Sadly, I couldn't get to the show, but Jane, you were there.
Oh, I was certainly there, and she has the most superbly lived-in voice. It's now raucous, it's nightclub style, it's soft and intimate when required, and she really captivated the crowd at the Empire, and there was a crowd. It was described as a love letter in song, and it was titled All Souls, because it's really a tribute to those in the business who've gone before, in particular Shane MacGowan and Sinead O'Connor. And actually, it turned out, and she did some wonderful anecdotes in her own slightly rambling style, that she knew Shane MacGowan very well, saw him at the end of his life, and that he talent spotted her, and she sang with the Pogues early on. She describes bicycling to a gig as an architecture student and having to learn the words. She knows the words now. We heard the words to Haunted, which is a wonderful song, and ended up with as a duet actually between MacGowan and O'Connor. And there's a wonderful line here. She reached out with her hands towards the audience and sang, "I want to be haunted by the ghost of your precious love." And you sense that she misses MacGowan a lot, actually. That was amazing.
And of course, the song that got me interested in Camille O'Sullivan was Amsterdam as well. I'm sure she did that one during the show.
Oh yes, she certainly did. The old Jack Brel, and reinvented by David Bowie, and now reinvented by her. And her voice really strummed with those hard characters, the hard men down at the docks, and it made you think of the docks in Belfast. And that was an absolutely superb rendition. Yes, it was.
So for anybody who hasn't had the chance to see Camille O'Sullivan, if she ever comes back to Belfast, or you see her appearing anywhere, go and see this show because it really is something special.
It really is, and we heard Jubilee Street by Nick Cave, and that was poignant. We heard lots of other work. There was Radiohead, and she wore a very interesting sort of sleazy chic outfit in the first half with holy tights, and at one point she was on her back kind of scissoring her legs. I mean, you had to be there. In the second half, she changes into this wonderful chanteuse red silk long evening dress outfit, and I mean, it's one of those shows that you'll remember, and she gives 110%, no question.
So, as always, we give our final thoughts on the show right now. Sadly, as I said, I didn't get to see the show this week. So, Jane, it's down to you. We've got some little microphones standing by. So, how many microphones are we going to give Camille O'Sullivan?
Oh, I think four and a half.
Definitely. That sounds good. Sounds good. I think it's been, I said recently, it's been a few years since I saw her live in concert. And I checked back through my diaries earlier on today. It was 2011 the last time I seen her in concert. So, yeah. So I definitely need to get back to see her again. Right. We're staying with music. And Morgan Roussel, who's a French composer, he was in Northern Ireland for a little mini tour. He did Portico at Portaferry on a Friday night. He did the Nerve Centre in Derry on Saturday, and he did two gigs in Belfast at the Grand Central Hotel on Bank Holiday Monday. His new show, or his new type of work, is called Reborn, and Jane, we were there for that as well, and I'm actually glad that I went to see this, because it's not often you just sit down and just listen to some great music in one go for a full hour.
No, you're right. It isn't often, and I'm glad I was there too. He is the master of rhythmic beat, really, Monsieur Roussel. He gave us an hour of almost at times it sounded as if it was improvised, but it wasn't. I mean, it was composed after he'd suffered from a composer's or writer's block, hence the name Reborn. It reminded me of nobody so much as those two great contemporary classical composers, Steve Reich and Philip Glass. They're both beat masters, if you like. And in fact, Steve Reich wrote one piece where people just clap their hands to a very rhythmic beat. And what an emphasis on rhythm does is it centers you in the music. You find yourself almost semi-meditating, I suppose. It's quite a different experience. There was actually a chunk of music referred to in this about a third of the way through, and I wondered if it was Aaron Copland. It sounded a bit Copland-esque.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just a masterclass as well to just show you what exactly you can do with just three people on stage as well, the keys, the bass, and the drums.
Yes, and at times it was very perky, at times it was soulful and bluesy, at times it was very jazzy. He mixed it up really well, I thought. And we were in the moment, in his moment, and it was very enjoyable actually. Yes, it was. I mean, it was quite a long period of time. I think the glass and right items I'm thinking of are quite a bit shorter, but I think maybe none the worse for that.
And at the end, I mean, I kept comparing it to one of my favourite instrumental albums, the Mike Oldfield Tubular Bells 2 album, which has something for everybody, a load of different styles of music. And that's exactly what Reborn had as well. You had your pop, you had your classical, you had your jazz, you almost had some kind of folk song at one point as well. And then you had influences of people like Bruce Hornsby in the range, and even a little bit of Dire Straits, I thought, at one point too.
Yes. Yes, I think you're right. And he also said he likes John Williams, and it was very cinematic, I think. You could imagine this against something dramatic happening on the big screen. But I think you're right in your Tubular Bells analysis. There was definitely an element of that. And yes, the folk song we heard, I think sounded quite Irish actually, with them yeah.
I think if Morgan and the guys are coming back again to do this show because it was kind of stripped back. It was in a small venue. We saw them in a room in the Grand Central Hotel. But next time, maybe some lighting, some special effects on stage, some backlighting, some lasers and stuff might just help the production as well.
Yes, I think you're right about lighting, and maybe even, but this would change it musically, and I'm sure Monsieur Roussel probably wouldn't agree, but maybe even a few vocals here and there might work well too. I think that could add to the experience, definitely.
If you want to find out more, do check out Morgan Roussel Reborn. Okay, time now for our final verdict on this particular show. We are judging with the little keyboards across the screen right now as well. So I'm going to start and I'm going to give him three little keyboards.
I'm going to give him three and a half little keyboards, one half extra.
So there we go. Great to see Morgan Roussel in Belfast. Now, our final offering for you this time round is another show that was part of the Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival. We went along to the Deer's Head to see Paul McVeigh, a well-known playwright and short story writer from Belfast. And he gave us short stories that were written for BBC Radio 4. And these were performed to us by some of Northern Ireland's top acting talent as well, which was quite impressive. You had Michael Condren, you had Abigail McGibbon, and you had Tony Flynn as well. And another show that I'm actually glad I went along to see.
Oh, I was thrilled. I love short stories anyhow. What's interesting about Paul McVeigh's stories here is that they are written in the first person. They're kind of dramatic monologues. I particularly liked all three. Abigail Fitzgibbon, she actually did the one called The Glamorous Assistant, and it was about this woman who's been gaslighted by her rather abusive magician husband. There are some wonderful lines in it, actually. Frank asks her whether she knows what the magic circle is, which she belongs to and is very proud of. And she says she's not quite sure, but she knows it's a secret society. She says, like the credit union. I thought that was a good example of Belfast wit right there. What happens often with short stories is at the end, you sometimes get a sting in the tail. We had one or two of those here, and something that reshuffles the pack of cards, that alters what went before. And here we had the notion that she was going to be in a stunt that was the invisible woman, or the magicking away the woman. And of course, that was deeply symbolic given what he's been doing to her. He's been trying to make her disappear in terms of personality. And well, I'm the queen of the spoiler alert, but you'll have to read the story. But in fact, she's going to disappear actually and buzz off to the side of the stage and start a new life in Scotland. I felt like cheering at that point.
If you do want to check out more of Paul's short stories, the book I Hear You is also available. These plays were all set in North Belfast, around Cliftonville Circus. We started off with Michael Condren, who a lot of people will know from Coronation Street. He ended up playing one of the best bad guys in soapland in recent years. Griff, who was just a fabulous character, so evil in Corrie. It was great to see Michael there. And he read a story about a comedian, didn't it? It was all about, it was like talent shows, and for somebody who's probably judged or hosted many talent shows over the last 25 years, that's the one I particularly liked.
Yes, I liked it, but he wasn't the most likable comedian, not the most likable character. He was sitting there at the Turkish barber's having a haircut, as you do, and ruminating on his plans for superstardom, or stardom anyway. He wants to win this talent competition that's being held, and it will give him enough money to kickstart his career. But we sense that he's disgruntled, he's discontented, and when he meets up with his friends, they're a bit off. I think because he's maybe a bit off, but he is passionate about the craft of the perfect joke, which he, in a sense, goes in quest of. I thought it was a very good rendition by Michael Condren, actually. He gave us the light and dark of the character really well. And although he wasn't the most likable person, we felt we understood him.
Yeah, we must mention Tony Flynn as well, who was the third actor on stage, and many people would have seen him at the Lyric Theatre in Paul McVeigh's superb show, The Big Man. I thoroughly enjoyed that show.
Oh, yes, The Big Man was an amazing play. I agree. And it showed all the torment and the joy of a particular relationship extremely well. Here we had another relationship that was evoked very well by Tony Flynn. That was between a grown up man and his demented mother. And it starts with a very shocking line: Mum thinks I'm dad. She won't let me go, in this hug. And it's all enveloping and slightly claustrophobic. And we roll back into his relationship with his mother at the time when he used to wash her feet, and she came back with her poor old bunions from work, having worked very hard, and the father was away working somewhere else or whatever, in his lorry, I think. It was moving, it was funny, it was poignant, it was brilliantly done. And at the end there was, which I won't spoil, but there is a touching reference to what he's going to do all over again. And it has reinvented, this moment has reinvented his relationship with his mother. There's also the most romantic passage about the father who used apparently to run from work to wave at his fiancée, his intended, who was a Millie, and she was short and she could only wave through the window and not actually see whether he was there. And that was beautifully done too.
Another thing that I liked about this show as well was having Paul McVeigh on stage as well, and his kind of presenting style of linking it all together was so relaxed. I mean, you can tell that this wasn't thought out, this wasn't scripted, but it worked. It was really quite entertaining.
Oh, it worked very well. He's very entertaining, and he talked about how he'd gone to a workshop for short story writers and how they said you need three elements to weave together, and he explained how he'd done that in one or two of these stories, which I found fascinating. No, he's a very relaxed presenter, and you can see where he gets some of the voices for his work, because his characters and his words, they absolutely spring off the page, and indeed they sprang to life in this performance. They work very well. The transition from short story on the page to short story being performed was absolutely effortless, and that's because of the lively way he writes, I think.
There was, and the overall setting as well, the Deer's Head, we know it as a well-known music venue as well, but it actually lends itself very well to theatre. There was a lovely stage, there was lovely lighting, it was very good sound. Congratulations to the guys on sound as well, because I thought the sound was perfect.
Oh, absolutely. The sound was impeccable and it was a very comfortable venue. It was like really one of the best kinds of small theatres to be in. It was very enjoyable.
It's right, time for us to make up our final verdicts on this collection of short stories by Paul McVeigh. It was called I Hear You, and one of the things I loved about the staging as well, it was one of those old-fashioned on-air radio lights on the stage as well the whole time. So we're going to vote using the on-air radio lights. So Jane, how many of these on-air lights are you going to give it?
Oh, I think 4.5. I'm being generous today, aren't I?
You're being very generous today, but I'm going to agree with you on that one as well and give 4.5 little on-air radio lights for that production as well. Still, loads of things happening over the next couple of weeks with the Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival. Check out their website, cqaf.com, for more info. And if you go to see anything, let us know what you've been to see. Let us know what you thought. We're back in the stalls very soon. We've got the show that everybody's waiting on, direct from the West End. Tina Turner, Jane, is coming to Belfast.
Can't wait.
So we're going to bring you our thoughts on that. And then, now I know you hate heights, but we're going to be on the roof of Castle Court Shopping Centre on Thursday, aren't we?
Yes, I may have a paper bag over my head at the beginning. But we'll do it for the art.
So stick around for that as well. And in the meantime, thank you so much for all your lovely comments. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you back in the stalls sometime very soon.
Bye-bye.